There we go. Hi, and welcome to Sentinel Sports Extra. Guardians Weekly Report. No analytics here. Publisher and founder of the Lake County Sentinel. And joining me tonight, I'm honored. Joining me tonight is my son, Tim Shirer, and the First Lady of Sports, my Cavaliers buddy, Rachel L. Hill. So, guys, I had predicted on last week's show that they would go 3-3 this week. I figured they would take 2 out of 3 from Boston and 1 from New York. And, well, it went the opposite way. Rachel, you were there. Were you there at every game?
I was there at every game except for yesterday's game. That was the makeup game from Saturday. I had a funeral that I had to attend, so I was not able to attend that game.
Okay. So they played well against New York.
They did. They did. Taking the first 2 out of the 3, but I guess New York said we're not getting swept by the Cleveland Guardians. So New York did as they do and put the ball in play, and they got ahead and got the victory in the third game of the final game of the series.
Yeah, well, that's good. They lost the series, so they didn't get swept, but they lost the series.
Right. They almost got swept, but they didn't.
I guess they're kind of like their fan base, Tommy, what did you think? Did you watch any of the 3 games? I know, like me, you have baseball.
I did, yeah. I mean, it was. What can you say? I mean, it was good, and then the Yankees had a typical Yankee game and just hit the crap out of the ball. It's just what happens.
Yeah, they did.
If they don't hit the ball, if the Yankees don't hit the ball, they're not going to win because they do nothing else well.
But I mean, they only scored 5 runs in that last game.
It's a good.
So it was only 5-1. The Guardians scored 6 off them in the first game.
Yeah, true.
Against Clark Schmidt, who the national media is acting like
been good. I mean, he's a good pitcher.
Is the greatest pitcher that ever lived.
They don't field well, so.
Mm-hmm.
So no, they don't. They're very bad defensively. So is Boston.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they have to slug the ball because they're bad defensively. You guys, I saw an article this morning when I logged onto my computer. I saw an article from Tim Stebbins, the MLB.com writer. He's new this year. And he wrote an article about Steven Kwan that he's actually having a better year. He's off to a better start this year than last year. And, there's proof in this. And this year he's hitting 350 going into today with an on-base percentage of 402 and 505 slugging percentage with 4 home runs, 2 doubles, and 15 RBI. Last year, he was hitting 345, 378 on-base percentage, and 469 slugging percentage through 26 games. So it's crazy that he's having even a better year. My hope is that he won't have that slump like he had. Was that August where he slumped badly?
I think it was August. It was later in the season. Yeah.
Yeah.
What have you noticed, Rachel, being there? Are we gonna say it's because of the torpedo bat? I think he's using one now, right?
I wasn't sure who's using the torpedo bats on the team or who's not.
He's the only one, I think.
Okay, they're not the. Haven't really.
The other power hitter on the team, big power hitter, is using one. Daniel Schneemann.
Oh,
okay.
So what do you think? What is the difference this year? I mean, it's not like a huge difference. It's not like he went from hitting 250 last year to 350 this year, but
Yeah, Stephen Kwan is just, a player who is trying to hone in his craft and get better, and he puts in time on the off season to getting better. Will we be able to look back on his career and say, hey, he might be able to go into the Hall of Fame because his defense and offense? It's just crazy that, you use him as a leadoff hitter and you can't get him home half the time, but he's the one who can get on base. And then, after you go through the bottom of the lineup and he comes up, he can get runners home. And, he's making, plays offensively, stealing bases. I think what was it, yesterday's game? Or I can't remember what game, he's like scored in 2 consecutive games, but, primarily he's the offense for this team. And I just think, every year he tries to do something to get better and better. And I just think it's a lot of it is the hard work that he's put in, and also, the development of him, because this is what his 4th year, I think, in the major league. So, he's developing really well, and having complete games and things like that. So I just think that Stephen Kwan works really hard, and a lot of it is the work that he has put into
He's
things.
he's definitely
I think
become a better
Tom.
power. He's definitely gotten more powerful as a hitter, and it hasn't
Yeah.
really taken away from his average. I do know he's using his torpedo bat isn't as drastic as some of the ones that the guys on the Yankees are using. Like you see Jazz Chisholm come up to the plate, it legitimately looks like he's got a torpedo. Like, and Kwan's is not that dramatic, but
hmm
it's a little bit bigger down low instead. So
I mean, let's face it. Stephen Kwan and Jazz Chisholm are basically the
complete
exact
opposite.
opposites.
I'll put it this way too. I don't know if Kwan is the only offense because obviously Jose and Manzardo leads the team in RBI, I believe, still even. But I think what it is, maybe we got to stop hitting bums second. Stop
Yeah.
hitting Nolan Jones, who's a bum, second. He is a bum. Guy's got 1 home run. He's like 6 foot. He's a huge guy. He's got 1 home run. You're talking about,
Yeah.
oh, he's hot. He's hitting 180, and you're telling me he's hot?
Well, that's what
If
Stephen
he
Kwan
was
said
hot,
last night
if
in
he
the
was
post game.
hot, if he was hot, he
Or
wouldn't be
Steven
hitting
Vogt.
180 because it's too early in the season to only be hitting 180 if you're hot.
Yeah.
Now, maybe let Jhonkensy Noel play 5 games in a row and watch his average rise.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I would be happy if I saw him less, Nolan Jones, and Jhonkensy Noel more, and if we saw Daniel Schneemann less.
Oh, God. They have an obsession with him.
You,
Now you got Will
you,
Wilson playing more than Jhonkensy, too,
you, Rachel, you go to the post game press conferences, right?
Mhm.
Like, does anyone ever ask him why they play Schneemann so much?
No.
It's
I
like,
I don't think he'd take too kindly to being asked that.
well, I thought he looked very, he looked a little, I would say, not happy last night when someone asked him about playing Jhonkensy Noel more. And that's when he said Nolan Jones was hot.
Guy hitting 180.
And I'm like, what?
Yeah, Jhonkensy may also only be hitting 180, 190, but guess what? He doesn't get to play every day. Nolan Jones is in the lineup almost every day.
Mm-hmm.
And he's terrible.
Jhonkensy started 1 game this week.
Yeah.
1.
What did he do
Oh,
yesterday?
and what did he do that game? He hit a
home run and doubled the guy up from the outfield.
Yeah.
So
he had an excellent defensive play.
He basically said, we go by the book. We go by matchups.
Yeah, and if you're just going by matchups, you're never going to win anything.
I mean, guys that went by Sparky Anderson was he went by the book a lot. Okay, but he also played hunches.
You got to play hunches.
Or went with a guy who was hot. Terry Francona went by the book sometimes, but he also went with a guy who's hot. I'm starting to get the Eric Wedge, the Eric Wedge vibe with Steven Vogt.
He's. I think what he is too is, I think he's so smart he doesn't want to hear it from you.
You
That's
think
what I
so?
get from him. I think he thinks he's smarter than you.
You get
So
that vibe,
you better not
Rachel?
question him.
Do you get that vibe from him? That he thinks
No.
he's the smartest guy? I don't get that vibe.
Yeah, I think he realized he has a lot to learn, and this season
But he doesn't
is
seem to
complete
admit it.
opposite from the way they opened up last season.
Mm-hmm.
They were hot from the very beginning. So, he's seeing that, his team having more errors than they do runs. Now he's seeing the worst of what it could be. We aren't, last place. I think, isn't Minnesota last place in the division?
I mean, we're in second, but
Okay.
Well, we're ahead.
Yeah, we're not in last
Guardians are
place.
ahead of
So,
Kansas City.
yeah.
So
No,
he hasn't
we're in
seen it
second.
that
We're
bad.
2.5 out of first.
Okay,
It's
yeah.
not-
So he hasn't
it's
seen
not
it as
horrible,
bad
but it's not
as being, right. Like he hasn't seen it as being the bottom of the barrel of the Central Division, but we're not playing that well right now at all. So
Not
we start.
what I don't
And
like
they
is
didn't
that
play well
they're
this
not
weekend.
playing
They played
fundamentally.
well at the beginning of the week.
Yeah, they're not playing well fundamentally right
Yeah.
now. It almost looks like I'm watching the Yankees play defense the last few games.
Bad news bears.
Defensively, that's what it looks like right now.
Yeah, it
And
doesn't look
Angel
good.
Martinez.
So
Listen, he had
they
2
are.
errors today. I think one of them could have been caught, but
Just not talking to each
We
other as
disagree
well,
on
I
that
think.
one, but
I don't know.
I felt like
I was watching it.
Santana. Oh, I think you're right.
It's just I feel like
Through 27 games last year, they were 19-8.
what are we now?
Hello?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, I know. I don't think he can hear.
They were
us.
19-8 last year at this point, and they're 15-12 this year, so they're 4 games worse. It's not like they're 15 games worse.
Right.
But you're right. The errors are very disturbing.
Won again today,
And
so
of course, they're 2.5 out. So they're 2.5 out
now because it was 2.5 before that.
No, 2.5. With the loss today, they're 2.5. They were 1.5 going into today. So
What did you say about the Tigers, Tommy?
I said they won again today.
Oh, okay.
So
yeah, so they're 2.5 up. I have the standings right here. They're 2.5 up. I just feel like I think he used the bullpen a little less this week than he did last week.
he did.
He actually let Kobe Allard go.
6 innings out of the pen.
He went deep yesterday.
He went 6 innings out of the bullpen
in relief of in relief of Doug Nikhazy, who is going to be better. Did you see he walked? I think he walked 6 guys, right?
Yeah.
That you know what the record is in the first start for a Cleveland pitcher?
6.
9. No. 9 by the rookie of the year, Herb Score. Yeah.
Corey Kluber sucked the first start too. So.
Oh, he was terrible. I remember I was covering a captain's game and we were watching it on the TV in the press box, and he was horrible.
I think Bieber had a good start, didn't he?
He might have.
There was another one. I know there was another one who didn't. That was really good.
Doug Nikhazy is going to be fine. I really like Doug Nikhazy. He's very similar to Hunter Gaddis. He works very hard to get better. So
Gaddis was another one who got destroyed in his own.
He did. He looked terrible. I remember thinking, "Wow, he's horrible."
He's not a starter though, but
no, he's a reliever now, and he's real good at it. Yeah. So, Tommy, you look like your body's disappearing there with the red. So we talked about that. The upcoming series this week. There'll be 7 games this week. No day off. That could have been why Vogt used the bullpen a little less.
That could be, yeah.
What do you think, Rachel?
I think so too. He was talking about he's got a bullpen that's stretched very thin right now. So that's the best thing to do is not use your bullpen so much and also allow your starters to go a little bit longer. But, starting pitching isn't that great. So, that's another thing that, he has to contend with. You throw the kid out today and who pitched today? Logan Allen.
Logan Allen,
And,
yeah. He's doing like 96 pitches.
Yeah, extending them. But normally, what is the average that he pulls them out? 70 something?
75. It's
yeah,
80.
Yeah, something like that.
I mean, this is not minor league baseball. This is the major leagues. What's funny about it is they don't want to overuse these guys. They throw them 75 pitches in the minor leagues. And that sets them back, I think, because these guys, they played travel ball growing up.
Mm-hmm.
They played high school. They played college. Trust me, travel ball pitchers aren't pulling you after 75 pitches. High school pitchers in those big, good programs, they're not pulling you after 75 pitches. These guys could throw 100 pitches in the minor leagues and be fine. I think they're hurting them by limiting them. And then when they get to the major leagues, they have to throw more. That's when these Tommy Johns, I'm telling you, that's part of it right there.
Yeah. They don't.
What do you think, Tommy? You're a pitching coach.
They don't throw enough, right? So what it is you don't have to pitch every day. You don't have to throw a flat ground 3 times a week, but play catch every day. Have a long toss once or twice a week too, even during the season. And then throw, right? Throw your game. You don't need to be sitting down doing nothing for 3 days. You need to get your work in. You need to continue to throw and strengthen your arm. The issue is these guys do not throw enough, and then they go to throw a bunch in a game, and there's too much stress on the arm because it's not built for that amount of throwing, and injury happens. So,
but are either of you concerned about Clase? Like Tommy, are you concerned?
Not deeply concerned. I think he'll come back and be fine.
Rachel, are you concerned about Clase? What is the feeling in the press box with the press corps?
I just was talking with somebody yesterday and asking them, did they think that something was wrong with him? And they were like, possibly. So, I don't know if everybody's buying we needed to give him a rest excuse,
No,
they're thinking that he's injured. I look at it, excuse me, Steven Vogt, had spoke before and said it is a confidence thing. So I'm kind of believing that, but I just kind of have a hard time understanding as a professional athlete, you're the best pitcher in the game. And then all of a sudden it just drops off and you can't get anybody out. Like, I've just never seen anything like that. I'm like, have they tried a sports psychologist and stuff like that? But I believe that he will eventually get back to where he used to be.
He will. I think so too. And don't, I mean, you know what? I'm not going to out and out just call them liars because, they're not. But I covered this organization for 20 years. And I don't know how many times we would go in the manager's office, at the minor league level and hear one thing and then go out into the locker room and the player tells us something totally opposite, or the pitching coach tells us something totally opposite. They're very secretive. We used to call them the CIA. And Chris Antonetti was there then, and I think Chris Antonetti does a great job. I don't want to act like I don't think, this front office is the best. Well, them and the Cavs, they're pretty equal front office wise, I think. And but they're not always honest with us, and
I don't think any organization is.
No, probably not. Well, I know that one in Toronto isn't. So, because I dealt with them too. But speaking of Toronto, let's get to that. Let's get to so they play the Twins 4 at home starting tomorrow. They have 4 with the Twins. The series will finish on Thursday afternoon with a 1:10 game. I believe all the others are 6:10 or 6:40 starts.
6:10.
And then they head to Toronto for 3. 6:10s, all 3 of the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Yes.
Okay. And then they play three different times in Toronto. 7:07 on Friday, 3:07 on Saturday, and 1:37 on Sunday.
Weird times.
It's a couple minutes later. What's that?
Weird times.
A couple minutes later in Toronto because they have the 2 national anthems. But so I always make my prediction on this show for what they will do. I've been right twice, and I've been wrong once. I said 2-4 one week. They went 3 and that week, and I said 2-4. That was the week after the first road trip. And what did they go on that homestand? They went 5-1. So they made me look like a fool that week. But this week, there are 7 games. I'm going to be optimistic this week. I'm going to say 5-2. I think they're going to take 3 out of 4 from the Twins. And I think they will take 2 out of 3 in Toronto. And Mark Shapiro will be steaming along with Ross Atkins. Tommy, what do you think they'll go this? How do you think they'll do this up?
I think they'll go 4-3 as well. I think they'll take 3 from the Twins and 1 from the Blue Jays.
Oh, so you think they'll go 4-3? I said they'll go 5-2. So,
4-3.
Rachel, what do you think?
I think that they are definitely. Huh?
Can barely see you.
Sorry. I'm thinking that they can get 3 from Minnesota. Sometimes they struggle to close out that series, when they're leading. You saw it happen, with Kansas City. You saw it happen with the Yankees. They've never won They've never won a doubleheader under Steven Vogt's tenure. So they lost all 4 doubleheaders. Sorry, last year. That's just a fun fact.
They did.
So they actually split the doubleheader on Saturday, which Steven Vogt was very happy about. Unfortunately, they couldn't pull the trigger and win the series from Boston. But I think that they'll take 3 out of 4 from Minnesota, and I think that they can take 2 out of 3 from Toronto.
So you'll think they go 5-2 also. All right.
Yeah.
So they better do better than this, though. So I just looked at the numbers. What's that, Tom?
Said I wouldn't mind 7-0, but that's pushing it.
I just looked at the numbers from this weekend. They better do better than this. They scored 21 runs in the 6 games, 3.5 per game. Not good. And they gave up 35. So that's
well, today they gave up 13. That inflates that a touch.
Yeah, that's true.
Today's loss counts just as much as a run lost, so.
Yeah, that's true. So I want to finish with the incident that happened today. Were you guys aware, Rachel, of what happened in the press box with Jarren Duran and the fan?
Well, we could see something was going on, but we didn't know what it was, because they have TVs in there, but the volume isn't up. So we could see it taking place in the press box because I'm like, oh, whoa, boy, something's going on. I could see him holding Duran back, but we didn't know what was going on until after the game.
It's just horrible. So, I was not a Jarren Duran fan. I'll admit that. But recently I learned about him and that he's had depression issues in his life. And I understand why he acts out maybe sometimes and says maybe dumb things. This fan hopefully they release his name because he deserves to be shamed for what he did. This fan should never be allowed at Progressive Field again.
No.
Ever. And you know me, I'm not gonna defend like Red Sox or Yankees, but this goes way beyond that. It's just horrible. And I'm so glad that the Guardians put a statement out right away. I only wish that in the statement they would have said we apologize. They said they apologized to the Red Sox organization and the player. I wish they would have said and to Jarren Duran.
Yeah.
Not the player.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't deserve that.
Yeah.
I saw
Nobody
a thing
does.
about him. Nobody does. You're right. I mean, and you know how I am, Rachel. I'm very strong opinionated about guys who act a certain way. I mean, you don't do that to people. What do you think, Tommy?
Well, I think that I don't mind him. I think he's a good player. I think he's a good guy, and I don't know, but
I judged him too harshly.
This was completely wrong. And you do that a little bit. You judge guys before you know them, but
it's a flaw I have.
But I'll say this: it's completely inappropriate. The fans should not be allowed at any Cleveland sporting event ever again. But like I said, I posted about it, and I said, leave the Browns bull crap out of the Guardians games.
And that's basically what it is.
Because that's stuff the drunk Browns fans do, not.
Yeah.
I'm a Browns fan, but
they do. You're right.
I'm realistic.
But obviously, Guardians fans do it too.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt if you had a Browns jersey on, though.
Yeah, I don't know, but I just think that the only thing I thought of in this whole thing is the Guardians apologized right away, and it's probably in the national media right now about what happened. But you know what I'm still waiting for? I'm not justifying this at all. It's horrible today. And I love that the Guardians apologized. They did the right thing right away. Do you know what I'm still waiting for? I'm still waiting for the New York Yankees apology to Steven Vogt.
Yeah.
Oh, they're not going to do that.
Of course they're not.
They were more concerned with the bat boy having long hair than they were about their fans taunting Steven Kwan.
Exactly. If it wasn't for Aaron Judge, who knows what would have happened?
Right.
And but that's horrible to Jarren Duran. I hope he doesn't judge all Cleveland baseball fans by that, because they're not like that.
No.
I've sat down there many times in the lower area, and it's great down there. They're awesome.
There's a bad apple everywhere.
There's
I mean, it's despicable behavior. The fact that you would fix your mouth to say something like that, it's just the cruelty is the point. And, you saw this past weekend with Shedeur Sanders, getting a prank phone call saying he had been drafted. You're watching people be cruel to one another and think it's funny.
Yeah, that kid's a scumbag. He apologized, but, they forced him to. They probably said, we're going to fire your dad if you don't apologize.
Yeah.
So the kid apologized.
He did it to other guys, too.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, I saw he did it to a few other guys as well.
Wow.
That kid.
The reason that one was recorded, the other ones weren't recorded. That's why you're seeing about that. Also, Shedeur fell to the 5th round, and everybody thought he was going to be a top 3 pick.
Yeah,
but
that looks like it's we're about to reach the end here for tonight. Thank you so much, Rachel, for being on the show.
Oh, you're welcome.
With late notice.
That's okay.
Rachel has a show on. Tell us where your show is, Rachel.
WOVU 95.9 FM called Her in the Huddle. It's going to be a great show tomorrow. We're going to be talking draft picks. We're going to be talking Cavs, and we're going to be talking Guardians as well. Okay. So it's going to be a great show. You can listen on your regular radio dial at 95.9 FM. You can listen online at WOVU.org, or you can download the WOVU app, and you can also listen via iHeartRadio now.
Yes, I have the WOVU app on my phone, and it's great. I listen to April's show when I'm door dashing.
Oh, good. Thank
Yes.
you.
So, Tommy, thank you for being here too.
Yep.
Who does Harvey play this week?
We got Berkshire on Berkshire for conference Tuesday, Wednesday, and then this weekend we have the Harvey Invitational, which I believe is we play Euclid, and I believe the Fairport Skippers play the Bristol Panthers.
Oh, okay, that's
Whoever
good.
wins those two play each other.
That should be fun.
Good luck.
Thank
So Wycliffe, we have tomorrow and Tuesday we have Cardinal, and then we have who do we have? We have Cuyahoga Heights. I believe that's on Friday at Cuyahoga Heights. I do like their field at Cuyahoga Heights. I wish they had grass in the infield, but that's another thing. But that's it. We ran over a little over 30 minutes, but thank you both for being here, and go Guardians.
You're welcome. Go Guards. Bye, guys.